Hello there. Our political masters really did stitch us up here, didn't they? And this could bite you very hard indeed. This is not a joke. You may think this is a Scottish-only hate speech thing. Well, it isn't. It affects all of us. And I would like to know how this got past the Westminster lawyers and politicians. Don't tell me they weren't aware of this. So Scotland has new, highly criticised and vastly wide-ranging freedom of speech busting hate speech laws coming into effect on the 1st of April. A very apt date for them. But as long as it's a Holyrood thing and stays in Scotland, then they're welcome to them. Except it transpires that these hate speech laws have very, very long arms. Arms that could reach out and grab you, even if you've never been to Scotland. In fact, with the way that Scottish law works, technically those laws apply worldwide, if the Scottish courts could enforce them, that is. Because when someone clicks on a link to a social media post, it is at that moment in time deemed to have been published to the person who clicks on the link by the person who wrote the post, wherever in the world that writer is. So it can become a crime if someone in Texas writes a post that someone opens in Scotland and they're offended by it. Not easy to enforce, I know. But with police force cooperation between UK jurisdictions, it's very easy to get at someone who, for example, posts from their desktop in England or Wales something that a person opens in Scotland and is offended by. And no argument about it being published on a server abroad can save you. And don't believe me on this. Author, broadcaster and human rights activist Craig Murray lays this all out in his blog, and it was backed up by a barrister, Roddy Dunlop, King's Counsel, who put out on X, "Craig is absolutely correct here. If it's published online and read in Scotland, then in law it is published in Scotland." And Murray said, "The Scottish courts do not need to extradite people from England and Wales. The police just truss them up and deliver them." So any post on any social media across the planet that a reader or viewer in Scotland thinks is a hate crime can be reported to Police Scotland. And Police Scotland has said that it will be logging all complaints, with those in England and Wales being roped in and made easy targets. I'm not sure the police will be able to keep up. Now I'm wondering if this next snippet will come under these new hate speech laws.
That 99% of the meetings I go to, I'm the only non-white person in the room. But why are we so surprised when the most senior positions in Scotland are filled almost exclusively by those who are white? Take my portfolio alone. The Lord President, white. The Lord Justice Clerk, white. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white. The Solicitor General, white. The Chief Constable, white. Every Deputy Chief Constable, white. Every Assistant Chief Constable, white. The Head of the Law Society, white. The Head of the Faculty of Advocates, white. Every Prison Governor, white. And not just Justice. The Chief Medical Officer, white. The Chief Nursing Officer, white. The Chief Veterinary Officer, white. The Chief Social Work Advisor, white. Almost every trade union in this country headed by people who are white. In the Scottish Government, every Director General is white. Every chair of every public body is white. That is not good enough.
Now that would be interesting, wouldn't it? And I gather that the Scots Nats Brigade are all over Twitter trying to remove all evidence of past written and verbal misdemeanours where targeting those that disagree with them are concerned. Because this new law could also be effective retrospectively. It could potentially reach back in time. because the publication of the post in Scotland takes place when the viewer opens the post. It doesn't matter how long ago it was actually written or made. So anyone in Scotland who opens this video on or after the 1st of April and is offended or thinks someone else might be offended could make a complaint. Although I will point out that the thumbnail to this video does have at the bottom of it the following disclaimer. Disclaimer, trigger warning, potentially offensive content. This video is not to be viewed in Scotland after the 31st of March 2024. I can take no responsibility for any offence or hurt caused to you or any offence or hurt you perceive this might cause others by you watching the video after this date, on the basis that you have been warned that it might offend. Now that'll throw the cat amongst the pigeons, won't it? Because this approach does seem sufficient to work with books and films under our woke regime, doesn't it? Although Police Scotland has now said that they'll only be looking at social media posts made on or after the 1st of April. Until their political masters change their minds, of course. But how has Westminster missed this cross-border risk of prosecution in England and Wales from a law originating in Holyrood? Unless they are planning to use it as a stepping stone for something more sinister maybe. Something that Starmer's Labour Party is planning. Now we come to the sheer scale of what's about to be unleashed on Police Scotland, whose officers, by the way, as I understand it, had a paltry 2 hours training on this law. The first is that if rigorously applied, the Edinburgh Fringe might be looking for a new venue city outside the UK because of how this law operates in the UK. The police have been trained that these laws potentially cover live performances. And just look at all the posts on X regarding the Gaza conflict. Billions of them. How many complaints will that generate? The prisons will be overflowing in weeks. And all those people being hauled out of the comfort of their armchairs in the home counties to account for their hateful writing before the Scottish courts. I can see a rise in English nationalism on the way, especially given the recent Nike attempt to redraw the St George's Cross. And no one's ever going to convince me that this was just playful artistic licence and nothing to do with woke. And this is something the Football Association appears to have been in on and agreed with. Ah well, sport's always been about the money, especially football. The heritage of our football, that the FA is meant to protect, by the way, appears to come a poor third behind money and taking the knee. And there's been a heavy backlash against this English flag desecration, and rightly so. Can you imagine going all modern and woke on the stars and stripes? There would be an utter uproar, wouldn't there? Not that anyone would ever do such a thing, though. And how about an English, playful woke adaptation of the Nike swoosh? Nice, eh? But back to Humza Yousaf's new hate speech laws for Scotland. One of the problems going forwards is that if Police Scotland is inundated with complaints, there will be the temptation for the bosses to go after the big, favoured, juicy targets. Maybe like J.K. Rowling, who lives in Scotland. At the moment, she draws criticism for her stance on following biological science and not woke, faux, emotional outrage. And I think we'll see an absolute deluge of complaints against her. She'll have a queue a mile long of Scottish plod outside her door, especially as she's refusing to take down older tweets. If you genuinely imagine our delete posts calling a man so as not to be prosecuted under this ludicrous law, stand by for the mother of all April Fool's jokes, she put out on X. What I'm hoping is that there's a mass pushback by Police Scotland with arrests for wasting police time, but I won't be holding my breath. Now, some people might be wondering if the UK Supreme Court could squash any convictions in Scotland made against those posting stuff in the rest of the UK, and the simple answer is no. The UK Supreme Court is not actually supreme in the UK. It has supremacy in most areas, but not all of them. Apart from it not having complete jurisdiction in Northern Ireland because of the Brexit Protocol, it does have full UK civil jurisdiction, but only has the final say on criminal law matters in England, Wales and Northern Ireland. The final court on criminal matters in Scotland is the High Court of Justiciary. So the Supreme Court is not so supreme. Anyway, I think these new laws will be a complete omnishambles. What do you think? Please like, subscribe and comment below, and don't forget to join us over on Locals. And thank you for watching.